6 months.
But the big thing was that morning we had a big blowout. And to the day, like, we never have big fights. And that morning that I knew she was going to, was it the morning or the night before?
He was just about to put the deposit on it.
That's what it was. I was about to go to the store, see the ring, and purchase the ring. And as I was about to go there, we had this massive fight that would have made me question: is this the right moment? Is this the right thing to do? The right person?
Should I be stage lefting it? Let's start again.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. Welcome to part 2 of this conversation that we love so much: commitment equals freedom. I am Kate Austin.
I'm Paul Green. I'm also tech support.
And this podcast is all about ways in which to create more freedom for yourself, whether that be through the physical, through mental, or through environmental. We really tap into all these beautiful different ways that create new perspectives that can create more freedom for you in your life.
That's right. No matter what your circumstances. So you can be an alchemist. If life throws you a curveball or something that looks like it's the worst thing ever, you'll be able to turn it into something beautiful, alchemize it into something of value, rather than just be like, oh, why is this happening to me? You have some freedom and power.
Yeah. And if you don't know what alchemy or like an alchemist is, probably the most famous alchemist of our time of all time, shall we say. I mean, we don't know beyond, but anyway, is Jesus. Jesus turned water into wine,
that's
and
alchemy,
that is alchemy. Yeah, so
that's what we have this company Kate and I have together, this movement called Freedom Alchemist. And Kate has her master's in neuro-linguistic programming, and as well as a Tony Robbins trained strategic intervention coach. And I have a functional nutrition degree, did men's health fitness covers, went through a big journey. My dad lost his life to ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, and that put me on a sort of a chronic disease, like a mission to sort of understand how toxins work and how neurodegenerative diseases are affecting this incredible world right now with Alzheimer's, dementia, MS, ALS, cancer. That's not necessarily neurological, but that's sort of our background and what we sort of bring to the table. And then Kate and I have been together 10 years. And we have we did a couple years in this communication program. Kate did a couple years.
If you listen to part 1 and if you haven't, go listen first, because that builds up to the story. It's going to tell you the whole story of where we get to now. But for this part 2, we're going to fast forward to, I guess, 4 years into our relationship.
Sure.
And we were in...
this is one microphone, which is like a decade in Hollywood.
And we were, we for the first 4 or 5 years, we were in a lot of self-development, programs to really up-level who we were. And had we not done that, we truly believe we would never have made it. Relationships anywhere are hard, especially in Los Angeles, California.
It's probably hard where you're at too, though.
It's hard. They can be hard everywhere. But I think when everyone's like, "Oh, there's so much choice. I want to cherry pick all the things, and if they're not perfect, then they're out." So it's like it's that kind of vibe here, which is why people find dating so hard. But yeah, had we not really learned some of what we're going to share with you today, we don't believe we would have made it. And so many people look at our relationships like it's some fairy tale novel under a gazebo. And it really is super beautiful and magical, but it's because we worked on it consistently for the beginning, and we ruled out some of the big mistakes that people make early on. And if you're interested in that, listen to part 1. We share those there. So let's fast forward. Let's get into it.
And this is titled Commitment Equals Freedom because it's literally that distinction that is probably the reason that we're together today. Is in part 1, we dive into where I learned that the more I committed, the more freedom I got in certain areas, except for relationship. That was confinement and took away freedom. And then I had this huge epiphany and this breakthrough that the more I committed to the relationship, the more freedom there was in the relationship, and which does bring us then to 4 years into this thing, and I'm approaching the time when I want to propose to Kate. And
unbeknownst to me,
she didn't know, but I had one of her friends knew of this vintage jeweler in Beverly Hills who found really cool rings. And
can I preface though, this was somebody in this program.
Yeah.
Wasn't a close friend of mine. We hadn't really hung out a whole lot. And then we decided, she was like, why don't we go to, I think we'd been talking about it, so we both love dancing. And in LA, there's this group, I've forgotten their names now.
Sunrise? No, Daybreak.
Daybreakers, yeah. And it's like, it starts at 6 a.m. and it goes till 8 or something. And it's like a dance party, but it's for people in the corporate world. It's like, it's totally like alcohol-free, drug-free. It's just a way to start the day full of dance, as if you're going to a dance party, but in the morning. And it's really fun and really great. And I'd been wanting to go forever, and so had she. So she's like, let's go. And so I was like, great. And there was a few other people, and we all went and danced and had a great time, which is like my favorite thing to do in the world.
Kate's love language is a dance off.
How I connect to God in the most profound way.
It's true.
That's another conversation for another time. And so after that, we all went to brunch. We were, there's a big table of us, it was, we bumped into a bunch of other people, so we all went to brunch together, and so it was very relaxed and casual. And then she had a business that she bought and sold vintage jewelry, and then she's like, feel like come and sparkle shopping with me? And I was like, yeah. Fun. Like, it was so random and off the cuff, and I was like, great. And she's
what she didn't know is I had set her up.
Yes, I didn't know this, but she basically was like, hey, just try and find some places. So she was like, she was totally in on all of this. So she's having me find places, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, I don't know. And then she's like, oh, I think I found a spot. She's like, we got to go.
She had you look for places, even though she knew where we were going?
Yes. Yes. She was like, she was great. And so she's like, we got to head over to, Beverly Hills. And then we go there, and I'm like, how did she find this spot? Because it wasn't like a store that you went into. It was like one of those buildings where there's tons of different little businesses, and you had to go up an elevator and open this, and it's like this room, and I'm like, what is this place? This is crazy. But she knows what she's doing. This is what she does. I'm just gonna go with it.
In like a mob movie, it's where they take you to go get whacked. You're like, why am I in this room? And then whack, you're dead.
So anyway, this guy who's super sweet comes out, and he's like, oh, what are you looking for? And she's like, I don't know, and so he starts bringing out these, I don't even know what to call them, like these kind of presentations of squares, velvet squares with all these different rings on them. And she was just like, I want to see your style. You pick the ones that you like the most. And I was like, oh, and it was just a fun little thing. And I was picking, and they were like, I love vintage things. Love. So it was like a kid in the candy store, all these gorgeous, beautiful rings of that have all different shapes and styles and stones and all sorts of things.
And so some from the 20s and the 30s.
It was just all over the spectrum. It was really fun. And so then they were like, oh, all your favorite ones, put on this one. So it was like an empty one, and so I placed them all out. And some of them had stories because they came from, the 20s or before that, or the 50s, or and so they had stories as to where they'd come from and where they originated from and all those sorts of things. And then this ring was there, and it became my favorite pretty quickly.
Let's see if we can show the step up, why it's so cool. Maybe.
So let me tell the story, and then
you tell the story.
And then we can share. And so the reason this was my favorite, because it was from 1920s. They'd bought it from Paris, and it was made. Apparently, they had just found Tutankhamun's tomb around this time, and so this ring was designed with the steps on each side to be the steps of the pyramids. I don't know if you can
can't really
see that. Or like, let's go over here. This is
That
where
one. It won't
No,
focus though
it's not
because
gonna
it's
do
not
it.
autofocus. It's focused finally on us.
So I
got
just
steps.
loved the story. It's like it's stunning because it's just all like it's just that it's got that old world charm, and I just loved the story. I just thought it was so beautiful that it was seeped in history, not just the history of the 1920s, but like ancient Egyptian history too, which is just
because you feel like you're an Egyptian princess from another time.
probably slaves too, all the things, but
You
but
think
yeah,
you were a slave?
I think anyway, let's not go there. Let's not go there. So I just loved the story, and then I felt like I was like, "Are you gonna get anything?" to my friend because she's the one in the business, and she was like, "There's nothing that's fully resonating with me today." And then I felt really bad for the man because he felt like he'd taken all this time, and I was like, "Oh." He was like, maybe you can and I was like, oh no.
No, finish that thought. You didn't
He's
say
like,
it.
maybe you can let your partner know or something. And I was like, oh no, no, that would not go well. And
The guy said maybe you could have your boyfriend tell him about the rings that you picked.
yeah, and I was just like, no,
she's like, no.
like there's no way because
It's not going to happen.
we were
But I had sent her there
yeah, but I was like, there's no way
to pick the one she loved, so that
So
when
I had no inclination that he was thinking about it. I also, just let's preface, because most women at 4 years would be like, hello. But I've never been a girl that, wow, imagined the wedding and needed the marriage. I just wasn't that person. So for me, it wasn't a necessity or it wasn't something I pushed or had an agenda for ever.
Right.
It was just like, yeah, and then I definitely didn't think he was in that place. So I was just like, oh no, that would just create. No, absolutely not. Anyway, so that happens and that's it. And then nothing else came up about this ring for, I think, like 6 months.
But the big thing was that morning we had a big blowout. And so the day, like, we never have big fights. And that morning that I knew she was going to, was it the morning or the night before? Maybe it was the night before.
It was maybe just that evening or the next day. He was just about to put the deposit on it.
That's what it was. I was about to go to the store, see the ring, and purchase the ring. And before, as I was about to go there, we had this massive fight that would have made me question, is this the right moment? Is this the right thing to do? The right person?
Should I be stage lefting it here?
Yeah. And had we not had some of the foundation of commitment is freedom, I'm just like, no. The more I commit, the more freedom comes. The more it's not just like my feelings in a moment that I have to trust. I have to trust my word and my commitment and my promise, not just to her, but to myself. And all that was going through me as I'm driving to this place, just like shell shock, because I suck at fights. I'm like a peacemaker, I shut down.
No, hang on. Actually, Paul's more of a
avoidant,
freeze and avoid and run, and I'm a let's lean in and go all out and get it hashed out and then it's done, and I'm a very fast processor.
Yeah, I'm not.
And Paul
slow. Most men are slow processors.
You've gotten so much faster.
Really?
So much faster.
At processing
really
feelings and emotions and stuff.
Except he needs to clean like crazy. So if I ever really wanted the house clean, I could just pick a fight with him.
Yeah, I do.
He's like, he can't stare at me. I want to stand there and just go at it, and he just needs to clean and not avoid eye contact, basically, which is hilarious.
I get a lot done.
The other day we had a little something, and he's like, "You could help," because I'm standing there wanting to have
engaged. I'm like, how do I avoid this flurry of information coming at me? I can't process. But it took me a long time to process. It used to take me a lot longer. But my dad didn't talk about his feelings. He just put a roof over the head and was.
It's a new generation thing.
I don't think men other than this generation have been necessarily required to have emotional intelligence or talk about their feelings or be the quiet, silent type, but then be soft and tender and emotionally available and sensitive and empathetic, but also like sexy and stoic and like the bad guy.
Out of the
like,
house,
it's the craziest time. That,
I think for women and for men.
True that.
This is a great another conversation.
We'll do that in the next one
Yeah.
because it's why there's very little attraction because women are more like men and men are more like women and there's no polarity. There's no like very little attraction anymore. And that's why divorce is just on this crazy hockey stick. But that's for our next one. We'll talk. I think we'll talk about
one.
polarity on the next one. We have a whole list, you guys, of topics that create freedom where they could create confinement or could take away your joy and take away your fun in your life. We have a bunch of topics that we can bring the conversation of freedom into.
Yeah.
So anyways, that was that. I did go and I did put I don't know if I
You're
bought
holding it. No, you're holding it because remember we had a
I
second
loved
fight.
it too. I really liked it.
It's stunning. It's just so unique and
So you is what
and
it is.
so
It's
me.
not
and
gaudy. It ain't
I don't
all-
ever take it off. Doesn't matter what I'm doing. I never take it off. I love it. Yes, and then the second time around, which was we were heading to Italy. One of my friends was from Australia was getting married, and we'd booked this trip. And the program we were in,
The one that created all the freedom.
one that created all the freedom,
Was
they
taking
also,
away our freedom.
They were there. They had very strict rules, and
You couldn't miss.
You couldn't miss. We met. Was it every other Friday night or every Friday night? Every other Friday night.
Was it?
But we had to go there every week into the thing and make all these calls. But so we had to go there every week and every other Friday night for 3.5 hours sit in this room and like, do what we were supposed to do and listen to learn basically. But you
share.
had to commit at the beginning of the year. You had to commit no matter what. You were going to be there.
Yeah.
You were going to be there, and if you missed one, it was a request to withdraw. So it was like taken really seriously, and like people had to move their lives around like dramatically.
Yeah.
And so
taught you how to commit though.
it taught you how to commit to something, even if you didn't want to. You just like you learn how to be your word, regardless of your feelings
And the circumstances.
And the
You're just like, wow, I said I was
yeah.
going to be there.
Yeah, so I missed plenty of things. Like Paul sang at Carnegie Hall twice. He was allowed to go. I was not allowed to go because it was part of his dreams. It
And my
wasn't.
game. It was a part of my game.
Yeah, and your game wasn't directly
And I had
related
to go to the
what,
New York branch.
Yeah.
I had to check into the New York one to like make sure that I put like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's yeah, no joke. So I missed out on all these things. And anyway, one of the meetings was going to fall. Our very last meeting was going to fall on like a time like we had booked, and we had been team leaders. We had put in so much energy. We had done all the things, and so we were going to miss one of the meetings. And I was fine with that because I was like, we have been exemplary. Like we can miss one. And they were like, no. And so we had to change our trip. We lost 10 days of our trip in Italy. And it cost us money to change the flight. So we
a lot of money.
It cost a lot of money to change the flight
To be our
and
word.
to then lose 10 days of our trip as well. And so I was like furious about it. I was
Yeah, you
furious
were.
because it was like I had poured my life into this program in a way that, like, as both of us had, in a way that others had not. And we had shown up constantly, and I was like, it's just one time. And then we were flying back early, like the second the wedding finished, we were flying back because we had to have a meeting in Austin or something, which was like, we had every quarter there was these huge 3-day intense events. It's like 13 hours a day of like, whoa. So we were flying, like the second the wedding finished, we were like getting like up at 4 a.m. and flying back so that we would be there for that. So I was like, we're good. We're good. We're just going to do that. And then Paul was like, and they told us we couldn't. And I was fighting it.
And
then
I'm
Paul
not the
was
rules guy, so I'm surprised that I was so like, no, we're
and
good.
he was like, no, we have to do it. We have to be our word. And I was like, we have been our word. This is one time. The odd person has not come because they had a headache. I'm not.
Right, and then
And
she gets
so-
there and someone stayed home because they had a toothache.
Yeah, something.
And they were
so
okay.
I was. So anyway, I was
Justice Department
furious
over here.
leading up to this.
Oh, yeah, she
And
was.
so when Paul had to go pick up the ring, I was just like, I think we had one more of those mega fights because I was so mad that we.
She was mad at me for
I
being...
was mad at him for like doing like for everything and everyone. I was just like, I've wanted to go to Italy my whole life, and we're gonna lose 10 days of our trip because of this meeting that we've been to every single
Freaking-
one for an entire year. When people have been flakier than us, like this is just it was. I'm a Justice League person, so it wasn't fair, and so I was really mad about it. Anyway. We changed our flights. We didn't have those 10 days, so we missed out on all the Northern Italy, which...
She's still recovering, from, as you can tell.
Anyway, so we didn't do that. And then by the time we did the meeting and everything, I was like, whatever. This is just, it's done.
Yeah.
It's done. When things are done, I'm just like, I'm like, but then we did the meeting and Paul was just like, at the end of the meeting, he was like, that was not worth it. And I was like, did you expect it to be any different? Like, I don't know. Anyway.
That's why I put up my hand to like be participating. So I'm like in the game, and then I was still like, oh, that wasn't very good.
So
You
anyway.
still did a second year of that program.
I just still did. Anyway, so we had
Miss
this
Carnegie Hall
huge
again.
fight.
Right.
So if you're in a place where you feel you've maxed out everything that you know how to do and you're still in a bit of a Groundhog's Day, you are a prime person for really stepping into what it is to have a coach. Someone that can show you a fresh perspective and show you who you are as your greatest self without all the stuff and the sabotages that get in the way of how you think of yourself.
That's right, because a lot of folks have blind spots. It's hard to sometimes see the areas that you don't know that you don't know. And Kate and I have many different coaches and people that we look to help us see the areas that we can't necessarily see. So you might be at a place in your life where you're like, okay, I've tried this on my own, and now I need some support. And Kate and I have a really great system of engaging and helping support you and connecting you to a life that you truly want and love.
And we truly believe everyone can heal as long as they're in the right environment to do so.
That's right.
And not just heal, like really elevate to the person you've always known you could be, you should be, but haven't quite got there. Then talk to us, reach out, and see, and we can see if we're a great fit to work together.
Great. So back to the podcast. At the very end, in the description, you'll see a place where you can connect with us. All right.
Before he picked up the ring again, where he had to really double down on commitment.
It's like God was giving me a test. Is like, are you going to just listen to your feelings and emotions, or are you just going to go because you know this in your heart is the direction, no matter what your circumstances are in the moment or what you're feeling, and are you able to be your word? And there was two really just like huge, like what the, like cold feet moments where my feet didn't get that cold. They stayed kind of cozy. I kept moving. I might have slowed my roll to the car a couple times, but I kept going. I went and got it.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And then I held that dang thing in my pocket for ages.
So let's now fast forward to this, not a few weeks, maybe a week after this event, and we fly to Italy.
After what event? I got
not going to the thing and you picking up all of that. So
before Italy.
So then we get on the plane and we fly to
This is
Italy.
2018, right? 19, right before the world shut down. Just before.
I think it's 2019.
Someone got sick in Italy too, and we're like, now looking back, we're like, they probably had it.
Maybe,
Remember?
yeah.
Remember? Yeah.
But yeah, so we was it the end of 2018?
Yeah,
Anyway.
2019.
So we get on the plane and we're all excited, and I wake up in the middle of the flight and I'm like,
The flight on the way over to Europe.
I was like, ow, I must have been really clenching my jaw. This is really painful. Keep going, get off in Italy. And I'm like, oof. And I have a full-blown, massive tooth pain. Like, gnarly. And I'm great with pain. I am someone that has a crazy high pain
It's true.
threshold.
She's tough.
And so if you listen to our podcast one, we talk about our birth story. Like, yeah.
She's tougher than me.
So I can I know how to meditate my way out of it. I think pain is a beautiful teacher and we can learn so much from it. And if we don't try and get out of it, we can learn the lessons. So I like to kind of just sit in it and so I never reach for painkillers. I know it kills the lining of your stomach and it's terrible for you. So I would never do that. But I just kind of gritted it out. But it was bad. I wasn't able to eat. I wasn't able to do anything. And here we are in
Rome.
Italy.
We're in Rome.
It's like gorgeous food, and I'm like, And anyway, we're all at all these beautiful places in Rome, and Paul's carrying this ring around.
In my pocket, looking for the moment to propose. Like, is it under this archway? Is it by this horse? Like, is it after we just had
the Colosseum?
Yeah, and I kept trying to create a romantic moment to propose, and turn in the corner, and then we found this woman.
Well, then I was like, we gotta get this
take
sorted.
care of it. So online on Google or Yelp, I found this woman.
There was not many that were in English, so we found
one, and we get there, and she's high.
She's high because she's just been checked out of hospital.
She still had her hospital thing on, and
she was heading back to the hospital after this.
She just came out to make some money for doing a root canal.
And she was like, "You need a root canal. You have an abscess." And I did. I had an abscess. And there's a whole nother story I want to talk about.
On one of our other podcasts, we'll talk about root canals because and why you should slow your roll with those. But we didn't end up getting one. Because she was so high.
And was she? Yeah. Yes, it was wrong. I'm just gonna do it in her chair and then head back to the hospital because she was having a procedure.
She was trembling and sweating.
And Paul was like, No, that's not happening right now. No. And
we weren't going to get a root canal, but this woman, that was what she wanted to do.
That's what she was trying to do.
We're like,
and then she started sobbing to me that she's been in the hospital and she needs to make money to keep her staff on.
Hit by
and I'm like,
a bear or something.
I'm not your money trained to get you out of this. Oh. And Paul was just like, let's get out of here. He came and picked me up and was like, let's get out of here. And so we ended up finding another person that just had to basically...
I was on a white horse.
They had to drill down my tooth so that it stopped taking the impact when I was biting.
Is that all he did?
That's all he did. He drilled it
he was great.
He was amazing.
And that's why I found that
he filed it right down and then gave me and then I had to go on antibiotics. They were $3 to get them.
Remember when we got that? Oh,
and
that
we were like, what? And a quick dose of that, and then we went to the natural store.
And we're very against antibiotics, so we had to get her all the stuff.
We went to the natural store, got all the things to
rebuild her probiotics and her prebiotics, all the things.
But within a few days, I
needed antibiotics because you had a full infection, and those infections can go into your brain and can create. Your mouth is very, very, very important. In case you guys don't know that.
We'll get into all of that. But so we managed to get through that. But by then we were leaving Rome, and so Paul's been. It was literally a comedy of errors because he's trying to be romantic and find the moment, and I'm just gritting through pain. And I'm cool. I'm not a complainer, but I was definitely
I could tell it was it was knee buckling for her.
Yeah.
And so So we finally get to Puglia, which is this area of Italy that's really special.
No, it wasn't Puglia. Then we went to Positano.
Oh, sorry, I always get it wrong. Positano.
And so I'm coming out of pain and
it's getting better.
I'm feeling really good and I'm feeling poetic about it all and how pain has been such a beautiful teacher and all sorts of things, and I'm in that mode. And anyway, towards the end of our trip, we do the Walk of the Gods.
It's the steps of the gods or the stairs to the gods or whatever it is.
Some insane amount
1,000 steps.
1,000 steps.
10,000. 10,000.
And then
stairs.
And so you walk from one area up a million stairs to the top of the mountains.
And there's all these different spots. There's that little shack up there where they gave us wine and goat meat or something.
Yeah, it was
really interesting.
It was amazing. Anyway, so we're walking up here, and I don't normally wear rings, and I think I was that particular day. And I have never said this in my life.
Well, I kept looking for moments to propose up on this hike.
And I still had
this is it. 2 weeks in my pocket, hands are sweaty. I'm surprised I hadn't lost the ring. It's just been I read somewhere that you're supposed to keep it on you, never have it somewhere else. So it was in my the little pocket that you're supposed to keep little little tiny things in, the little itty bitty pockets. And every time I would go to propose to her, something crazy would happen. Like a group of German tourists would turn the corner and there'd be like 50 of them wearing the same blazer. And I'm like, no. This is not happening. I'm not going to propose to her with that. Turn the corner, it's like Japanese tourists, and they're all like singing or something. I'm like, not a song I wanted as a backdrop to the proposal.
So
and
it kept
then,
like he was being punked on every level.
Every
and it was just
time.
a comedy. And then I remember saying this, which is like the weirdest thing.
I even had someone take in our picture once, and I was about to do it. I gave them my camera. I said, could you take our picture? And I had it on video. And they were about to do it, and I started the video. I was like, it's already going, don't worry. And I gave it to them, and I went up there, and that's when another horde of people came around the corner. I was like, this is dumb.
But I also said, as we were climbing these crazy amounts of stairs, and we were up on the top, and it's gorgeous, I was like, oh, my fingers are all swollen.
So I was like, I'll never be able to get the ring on.
Yeah, so he's imagining going,
sausage fingers. It's like, that's not going to happen. So I was punked 3 times on the hike. And it's a shame
because that day on the way down, we found this like one of the most extraordinary restaurants we've ever been to. And it's like there's no menu. It's like you either choose the big one or the little one, and the mama cooks it all for you.
And the table wine was like the best wine we'd ever had.
It was just stunning, and it was it would have been such a great celebratory thing. It would have been really special, but it didn't happen that day.
It didn't.
And so anyway,
but we're getting closer to the wedding of her friend, and I'm like, I can't propose at her friend's wedding. This is ridiculous. Like we were like 1 day away from going to this wedding. I was like, I'm not going to steal their wedding thunder by proposing. So,
and then I had planned the whole trip, and then I found there was a 1 day hole in my I'd skipped it. I'd missed a day. And so we're like, oh my goodness, we haven't got accommodation books. Where should we go? And then we sort of looked on the map and spoke to someone, the concierge person at the hotel, and they told us about Matera. And it was kind of on the way to Puglia, where the wedding was, from where we were. So Matera is the third oldest continuous living city in the world.
Yeah.
It is 9,000 years old.
That there's been inhabitants in it continuously.
For that long. And it's where Wonder Woman was filmed.
And Passion of the Christ, parts of it. And a lot of the hotels and homes are built into caves.
Yeah.
So like you open it and you're into caves, but they like have beautiful designs. Yeah. And it's like, it was. So
the old quarter is all in caves.
And they eat horse there in that region. Like on the menu, there was horse.
I was like, what is this? I was like, what is this? I thought it was like a code name for something, and they're like, horse. And I'm like, real horse. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, no thanks.
Tartar.
No thanks. Yeah. Not going to do that.
And all around that little walking city, there was stunning like vistas where you look down and you're like, what am I looking at? It was just breathtaking.
And art, and that famous sculptor was there.
Oh, yeah. And those hot springs, those natural hot springs that we could I was going to do it in there too.
So anyway.
Didn't do it.
So we
like
choose this as a last minute thing. We're staying in these caves, like a hotel cave. It was our own little cave, and it was the hotel. It was really cool. And on the last, it was like the night before we were leaving to go to the wedding, and there was these underground Greek, like
Roman baths. Greek. They might have been Greek baths. I don't know.
Anyway, so we went and did that, and that was really cool.
I had the ring with me.
And then we come out. And I remember going like, oh, my skin feels really dry. And Paul's like, oh. I was like, oh, well, you'll be all right, until you get there. And then we go to all these restaurants trying to find a restaurant.
Olive oil to put on your skin.
Yeah, olive oil to put on my skin. And then Paul's like, no, not this one.
Every restaurant we went to.
He started being really neurotic about the
Every restaurant was like a bad vibe. There's like kids on their iPads or like someone smoking. And it's just like, and I'm like, first of all, you don't, it's not like I was going to propose at the restaurant, but the restaurant would have been a part of our story of the evening. So I wanted to have a great dinner. And I was like, we'd get to a restaurant and be like, nope. Oh,
well, and I was like, let's go to this one. I was like, let's just go this one. And he's like, no, I'm not feeling it. And so we walked forever to find a restaurant. And then he's like, it's back at that one that was too busy to let us in. Anyway, we go back, and they now have space because we've been walking forever. And we get into this restaurant, and they take us upstairs.
And it's fluorescent lights.
And it's like super bright, and there's kids on iPads, and it's noisy, and there isn't ambiance. And then we sit down, and then Paul's like, "No, no."
I got up.
And I'm like, "What do you? No, babe. Let's like,
No,
wait,
got
this
up.
is fine. This is great. Let's just eat here. Like, what are you talking about?" He's like, "No." And I'm like, "Oh my goodness."
That's such a freak.
And so then we get up, and I'm walking down, and the
guy was
guy's like,
grumpy.
"Putain!" Like, and then I was like,
Putain.
"Sorry."
Yeah.
I was like, sorry. Like, I was like, "Oh my gosh." Anyway, so we walk out, and then we find this other place, and even in the
Wasn't
other
French,
place,
it
it
was
was it was Putain. It's French. Okay. It was the same word, but in Italian. He was not happy about
He was
it.
not happy.
And so and then we go to this other place, and it's really cute. And then Paul's like, "Can I have this, but without this?" And like
Oh
sort
my
of
gosh, we
American style.
found a
And he's
nice-
like, "No,
We found a
the
great
menu. That is it." And I'm like, "It's fine. We'll take it."
We found a really cool place, and I was trying to substitute out something that had sugar, and the guy's like, "No." And I'm
I was like,
"Okay."
"It's fine. We'll do it exactly the way it's
And by
meant
this
to
point,
be."
I was like beat down. I was
Yeah,
like-
and I'm like, shh, 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 shh. Everything's great. Everything's great. We'll take it exactly like that.
You had to know by this point that something was coming. That I was going to.
No, it wasn't at this point that I was thinking about it. So we have this nice meal, and then we're walking, and then we come out, and then I'm like, "Oh, I'm freezing," and
Oh
I
my
see
gosh.
his face just drop, and he's like, "Let's go get you a jacket then." And so
Because I was going to look for a place to propose now after that meal, and then she's frozen, so I was like, "Oh, fish. Now what?"
So we go back to the cave, and I get warm, and he's like, "Do you want to just come check out the view with me one last time?" And that is when I was like, "Oh,
This is what's happening. And so I set up the camera secretly.
oh, something. Okay, all right." I was like,
and
"Sure."
My battery was dead on the camera.
Yeah, and then he had wanted music and
Battery was
all of
dead.
it,
Nothing.
and everything was dead. Nothing was working, and so we went there, and it was perfect because we went like
gorgeous.
just near where our cave was the very end.
And it was like,
of,
I actually have a video out where I was singing Hallelujah the next day that
Yeah.
you filmed me, and
Yeah.
another I Love Now, I think there.
Yeah.
Right on this edge where you look down, and it's like a good 100 feet, and then the old city just like lays there.
and it was the very it's like a cavernous thing, and we were at the
so
very top
weird.
end of it, looking out, and there wasn't a single soul
nothing.
in sight.
It's like everyone
So in
left
this-
for my proposal.
In this beautiful ancient city, there was no one but us there. And all of his tech had fallen apart, which for me is perfect because I'm such a private person. It's like I just would prefer it to be like about us. So it actually was all working in my favor. I would have loved to been able
The
to
scene
see.
was so gorgeous.
I would have loved to have been able to see
what you did.
Yeah, because I'm not a crier. I've become more of a crier since I had a child, but that's a whole other thing. I'm all soppy, but I'm a laugher. Like whether it's like emotional and fun or like I'm in pain, it doesn't matter. I'm a laugher. So he then I'll let you take it from this bit.
Yeah, well, I finally get her to the edge, and we're looking out, and I kind of turn to her, and I'm like, I've been talking, and we've been learning a lot how the more I commit to things, there's more freedom, and I bring that thing up, and I was like, the more I commit to my music, there's more freedom. The more I commit to my acting or the scripts, the more freedom I have, and I looked at her, and I'm like, in our relationship, I'm ready for some more freedom. And I got down on my knee and fumbled in a fumbled way, tried to find this sweaty ring that had been tracking in my thighs for like 2.5 weeks. And I pulled it out, and I went down on one knee. This is why I wish we had the video. She doesn't even remember it.
of him
That's
going
why I
down
wanted to
on a knee.
videotape it.
I just remember laughing.
And you hugged me and kissed me and said yes, and you looked at the ring, and in that moment you saw that it was the ring that you had picked.
I don't know if did I recognize
Later
that
maybe
right
later
away?
at
Maybe
night.
it was already on my finger, but
that she had chosen with her friend after the
Yeah.
dance party.
so it was like.
That commitment is freedom story.
But he said, "I'm ready for some more freedom,"
Yeah.
and he gave me the ring.
as I committed.
Yeah. So it was really beautiful. It was just a really because there was no cameras and music, it was just us in the city. It was just so. authentic and
Yeah.
connected and
Yeah.
beautiful and just
Yeah.
really, really special. So, yeah. And then we went off to a wedding the next day.
To another
Like a
person's
3-day wedding. A 3-day
Yeah,
wedding.
and we were like, how do we tell them? We got to wait till like the third day to tell them.
But then somebody has saw something. and
Oh,
then
they saw. Did I post? We must post. We
Yeah.
posted it right
Yeah.
away.
So-
that we were engaged. Anyway, that is our epic adventure of discovering how to have more freedom. And the one area of my life that I had decided that commitment was confinement or commitment was prison was relationships. And in order to have a life that I truly wanted, I was able to transform or alchemize that area because it was all based on my past. It was all based on a story. Something happened in the past. I made up a story. I created an identity around that idea and that story, made it who I was, and then projected all that onto her.
And that's what everybody does.
That's what everyone does in
Everyone
relationships.
does,
And
which
if
is why
if you're having trouble succeeding in relationships, you're probably doing some version of it.
And we're not saying everybody does like the confinement thing. Everybody projects all of their life experience onto the other person and then wonders why that person can't meet them or can't be what they want them to be or read their mind or whatever
Yeah.
it is, right? So it's like, so that's why for us, when in our company, relationship and communication, connection basically is one of the pillars because you can it's absolutely connected to your health and your mental health of how you connect in relationships and how you're being in relationships and how do you connect to yourself. And so it's so healing to understand that something like this can be removed. So therefore we now have a 10-year relationship.
Right.
And it's the longest we've both had. And we still, there's always parts of contraction and expansion in relationships. It has to be. And how do you lean in during those moments of contractions and expansions and it's just beautiful and it just keeps peeling back the layers and we keep finding each other again and falling in love again and it's really special.
Yeah. Well, that's our epic story on commitment is freedom. And just, I guess, for your own lives, look at an area that you're maybe not committing to. And if you want to experience the depth of that thing, just give it a shot. Like, you're better off totally choosing something and being wrong rather than half choosing something and flopping around for decades and being indecision is agony. At least if you make a powerful choice, you're going to wind up somewhere quicker. And it's choose a direction, go there. Who you get to be as you're doing that, it becomes this really beautiful story rather than I don't know, this indecision and procrastinating and fear will leave you paralyzed doing nothing. You're much better to make a mistake than to not do anything. Yeah.
Failing is just lessons. Failing isn't we got to redefine failure. It's fabulous. If you're not failing, you're not living.
That's right. You're not really trying.
So just you're just trying to stay in a bubble, and that is a death. That is a slow, painful death. So just go out there and create. And if you need help having new perspectives or need help on tools of communication and connection, then check us out.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
That's what we do. We have a couple different programs that Kate and I work together with. We've worked with over 1,000 people in the last 5 years and helping people create freedoms or identifying their upper limits and their sabotages in their life. And one of the areas definitely is communication. That's pretty juicy. And some of our teachers that we've worked with and our mentors have made such a big impact on us that we like to share some of those books and those teachings and those strategies to help others. Just
really worked for us and people in our community and people with all the culmination of everything that we've learned and studied over the past 20 years is what we pack into these things. So so no matter when you're watching this, they're in the description below. There will be a link that'll take you to our main page, and there will be a couple options for you to kind of discover more about
how we approach things and why we approach things the way we do. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for popping in. And we'll be this, if you're also, this is the video, we're taking these videos down very soon. So if you're watching this live, that's amazing. It's going to be down in tomorrow. And then we're going to be on our YouTube, our Freedom Alchemist YouTube. We're going to be putting this video on, what day is it? Saturday.
Every Saturday it launches on there. And then every Wednesday you'll get it on audio on the podcast.
That's right. So, and the podcast, if you want to go to iTunes right now and subscribe so that you get notified, is the Freedom Alchemist podcast. Make sure you get the one that's yellow with peace sign. I think there's another Freedom Alchemist out there, and this one says Kate and Paul on it. And you subscribe there and like it and share and all that. That helps to boost the conversation on iTunes and on Apple and Spotify too.
And we can help more and more people with these things that just don't get spoken about enough and
That's
need
right.
to be.
And we're doing this every single week on freedom, creating freedom and whatever kind of. And so if you also want to leave a comment on the video on YouTube or on the podcast of an area that you might be struggling in freedom or it's something you would like us to kind of talk for future podcasts, we look at those and we'll be bringing those into our list of areas that we want to kind of go over. So, all right. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.